Now, this one, the Taliban's return to power, is a major setback for India. India had a close relationship with the previous government of Afghanistan. It was the first country to pull out of the country as soon as the Taliban surrounded Kabul. India's neighbor Pakistan, we understand, is not pleased either with India pulling out of Afghanistan or how India has been managing the situation. So what is exactly India's stance on this whole Afghanistan development? And what about the refugee crisis? Well, to unpack all of this, I'm joined now by former senior associate editor for the Tribune India, Prasad Kunduri. Prasad, good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday View here on eNCA in Johannesburg. Thank you very much for your time. First up, what's the latest you can tell us about India and Afghanistan with the Taliban's coming in? I saw some reports earlier saying that an Indian minister has met with the Taliban. Can you confirm that?
Good afternoon. Firstly, an Indian diplomat who is based in Qatar, the Indian envoy, has had an interaction with the member of the Taliban political wing, as you know, Sheikh Mohammed Abbas Tankhazi, who is the head of the political wing of Taliban. Now, just to give a bit of a background, Sheikh Mohammed Tankhazi has been trained in India in the Indian Military Academy. But since that was some time ago, but he has been very vocal, and one of the first statements emanated from him was that he wanted that India should remain engaged with the new Taliban, with the people of Afghanistan and the new government when it comes into place, and that they want India to continue with its political and the construction and the development activity. India, for the time being, as you mentioned, only yesterday, the Indian envoy, Mr. Deepak Mittal, met Mr. Tankhazi at the Indian Embassy. That's what we have been officially informed.
Now, India is a regional superpower in that part of the world and has invested quite a lot in Afghanistan with good relations with the previous government, now the outgoing government. What is the significance of this meeting that has happened between the Indian diplomat and the Afghan Taliban's political head?
Well, the two things that we have officially been informed is that India has wanted the safety of the Indians who are still there, and to make sure that there is no terror activity that is emanating from the soil of Afghanistan against India. Because Indian concerns do rise because of the previous occasion, way back in 1996 and 2000, when two of the terror operators, in particular Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba, who are part of the United Nations Security Resolution 1267, who have been named as terror groups, they have been found in the situation and working there. So that has been India's concern. And these two were flagged at the meeting with the Mr. Tankhazi yesterday.
You mentioned the safety concerns from Indian government around acts of terror or possible terror. I'm thinking about the role of Pakistan, because I saw a report that Pakistan was also not happy how India has been managing this developing situation in Afghanistan, especially because there's many refugees now, we understand, from Afghanistan who are making their way to the border with Pakistan.
Well, we have that is to the western part of Pakistan, whereas our borders, I mean, because Afghanistan, India does not actually share any contiguous borders with Afghanistan, but it is part of our extended neighborhood. That having been said, India has had evacuations done, a large number of almost 600 people from Afghanistan, and at least half of them are Indian citizens. And some Afghan Sikhs and Afghan Hindus who have been traditionally been settled there, wanting to come out of Afghanistan, have been evacuated. As for the refugee crisis, I think that's something internal to Afghanistan and how Pakistan is to deal with it. But for India, because there is the only way is the air corridor, and that's the one which is working. In fact, as I mentioned, the other aspect, Mr. Tankhazi's statement that emanated a little while earlier, was that they wanted some trade activity to continue. But these are very early days because India has officially policy to wait and watch and see how situation develops in that part of the world.
Yeah, these are early days indeed. How big is it, therefore, a setback for India after India having invested so much with the previous Afghanistan authorities, Taliban's ascension to power in Kabul? Is it such a big deal?
Well, let us look at this way. India has invested in terms of development and development of for the benefit of the people of Afghanistan. Projects worth $3 billion have been in the pipeline and executed. The Indian government built the parliament for Afghanistan. It built a dam, it built a highway, and it is also worked in health and education sector, which should benefit directly the people of Afghanistan. India did not put any military boots on the ground in particular. This has been largely the approach. Approach has been to work on the humanitarian and the development of Afghanistan for the people of Afghanistan, largely because the goodwill that the people of Afghanistan and India have among themselves. So that has been the case. As I mentioned to you, these are early days. India officially is waiting and watching as to how it unfolds and how the world comes to terms with this new arrangement as and when it develops in the country of Afghanistan.
Okay, finally, for the Indian citizens who are still in Afghanistan, what is the Indian government doing to make sure that they are treated safely and that they can go home if they want to go home? I mean, we've seen these plane loads after plane loads of people being evacuated from Kabul in the last 2 weeks.
Well, as I mentioned to you, almost 600 people, half of them were Indians who were working on various projects and all elsewhere, have come back. In fact, some journalists were among the first who had gone from India to cover the situation in Afghanistan, were among those who were evacuated. We don't have the exact numbers of Indians who are still there, but the government of India is at work. And in fact, the meeting which I just mentioned and which you referred to is with the Indian diplomats in Qatar, was to make sure that such an evacuation, if it was required, is facilitated, because now everything is under control of Taliban. So that is where it stands.
Okay, we don't know the numbers yet of those Indian citizens who are still there, but there are efforts to make sure they are safe. Thank you very much. That's former senior associate editor for the Tribune India, Prasad Kunduri, talking to us, just giving us some of the latest developments there. India, of course, now opening talks with the Taliban, which is seen as a significant development. After all, India is a superpower in that part of the world. We'll have to watch and see how things develop. As he said, these are still early days.